More Moderna booster news is expected tomorrow as a panel of outside advisors to the FDA could vote on who should get that booster and when. Moderna has had a huge run over the past year. Shares are up 312%. Back in last December of 2020, the FDA granted that emergency use authorization to their vaccine. Since then, over the summer, the shares really picked up momentum when meme traders pushed them higher in July and August of 2021. The stock hit a record intraday high back on August 10th, and it hovered around those levels before taking a dive in September. So would this booster approval kick shares back into high gear? Not so fast, says our next guest. Joining us now is Bank of America Securities research analyst Jeff Meacham, who has an underperform rating on Moderna and a 135 price target. So that's nearly 60% downside. Jeff, welcome. Is this a valuation issue for you mostly in the wake of this kind of meme run-up?
Thanks for having me, Kelly. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It is valuation. We're not negative on the technology itself. We're not negative on the potential for the mRNA, platform to, have other indications beyond COVID. It's just that the assumption here, when you look at valuation, is that it's, $5 billion forever. For Moderna, it's less of a tail, I would say, with Pfizer. So the ability to use boosters, for annual boosters for the foreseeable future, we think just probably isn't a realistic scenario, but that's what the stock is telling you.
Meg hinted at this battle that's going to take place between Moderna and Pfizer to become the booster of choice in the marketplace. How important is that financially to the company?
It is pretty important. I mean, we haven't really talked about, J&J or Novavax. Or even AZ or others, the ability to take share going forward is going to be important. But I would say, though, the two mRNA vaccines are more alike than different. Technically, at tomorrow's FDA panel, the Moderna vaccine did not technically hit the endpoint, and Pfizer's did, although I do expect FDA and recommendations, for boosters for at-risk people to not really differentiate between the two. But it is absolutely true that, going forward, from a commercial perspective, market share will be really key.
But you're saying the third dose booster is already baked into expectations, maybe more so, that people are kind of, like you said, getting at this $5 billion in perpetual sales figure that doesn't add up even if they get that nod. I also want to ask you about maybe some tensions between Moderna and the Biden administration, where the chief scientific officer says about Moderna today, quote, "We expect them to stand up as a company and making this vaccine more available to the world." But it would seem important that they have a strong relationship with the government, which is basically, calling a lot of the shots here in terms of the vaccines.
Yeah, no, two great points, Kelly. I would say the first thing is, the vaccines are very similar to, other pharmaceutical products that, you see good price points in the U.S., Europe, Japan, and, higher discounts, I would say, in the rest of the world. So vaccines are not that dissimilar from a market commercial perspective. The other piece here, just to stay on boosters, and this is obviously news that just happened, very recently, but molnupiravir, which is Merck's drug, I get the impression that people really want to move on beyond COVID and the ability to take an oral and once you're test positive and just move on with life, as opposed to getting annual boosters and quarantining, this sort of cycle that we're in now. I think most people aren't so excited about being in for the next, 10 plus years.
It's a great point. So tell me about your $135 price target and what that reflects kind of on a valuation basis. And if there are others then that you think would be more compelling in terms of where investors should be looking.
Yeah, we think so. In general, we assume a reasonable probability of success for the non-COVID pipeline. You still have to go through the motions, though. You have to do the experiments in flu. You have to do the experiments in CMV and in cancer. And investors are automatically ascribing, in our view, a much higher chance of success with mRNA, particularly for Moderna. But, our sense is that, that's sort of an overestimation. And then from a COVID booster perspective, we assume that, next year will be essentially modestly lower, and then it sort of tails off. But mostly investors assume that an annual booster, whether alone or combined with flu, is going to be the standard. And we're just saying not so fast. If you look at other COVID companies, I would definitely say that, other companies like Vir has a antibody, as does Lilly. Those are both very good opportunities to take advantage of COVID.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your time today. We appreciate it. Jeff Meacham with Bank of America.